Good evening. My name is Alicia and welcome to my garden. I live and garden in western Pennsylvania with my family, and I want to show you what we have going on in the garden here as summer garden is completely winding down and we're trying to get ready, geared up for fall, and still keep harvesting, keep preserving those things that are coming in from the summer. So let's take a look at what we have going on. I was actually just saying to my husband, this bed right here that's along our fence gets a lot of competition from this maple right here. So there's times when things in this bed start wilting down when nothing else in the garden does or has. And I feel like that's because the tree is utilizing a lot of the moisture in the soil. So I'm trying to figure out something here. In some ways it's really nice because it's very sheltered with that fence behind it, close to the tree. So it's a really nice space, but it definitely gets competition from the tree. So things don't perform as well here as they do in other spaces. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that moving forward. We've talked about maybe I just need to put a trickle line in here and just water on a more regular basis, because I really don't water much. I mulch my garden beds real heavy. We add a lot of organic material, and so once the plants get started, I usually don't water much at all unless I absolutely have to. Maybe just in general, this is one of those beds that I need to water. Okay, my husband always picks on me for my obsession with tomatoes. The peppers are starting to come close to equaling that. This first bed, the intention was to be mostly sweet peppers. Mostly that worked. I did accidentally mix a few hot ones in. Something that I will 100% continue to grow is these right here. These are called jalapenos. They are like the flavor of a jalapeno without the heat, and we have loved these this year. They're great sauteed. I fermented some jalapeno rings along with jalapenos and just had that on nachos this evening, and it was really, really good. So I only have 2 plants. This is one that may go up to 3 or 4 for next year. Shishitos, I really like these. They're a fun pepper to grow. They're really prolific, but I'm not sure. Like last year I grew too many. These are great, like just blistered in a pan. But some of them ended up getting a little spicy on me this year, and that's a little difficult when you're trying to prepare them for somebody else, and one's sweet and the next one's spicy. Not everybody is always game for that. So I need to kind of evaluate how many of these I grow into the future. I have fermented them. I do like them, but I have others that I like fermented better. So I think I'll always grow 1 or 2, but this isn't one that I need more of. Now this right here, like these beautiful purple peppers that ripen to this beautiful, like that orange that's right there. These are Pippin Golden Honey. They are so good. A lot of the ones that ripen don't make it into the house because those are garden snacks. It's like eating fruit. They're just so sweet. Love those. Then I've got Hungarian wax, hot Hungarian wax here, and sweet banana. I need to make sure I separate these a little bit more, just so I don't accidentally mix them when I'm wanting a sweet pepper. So I need to be a little more careful with that next year, but I will always grow these because they're just a great frying pepper. They're great to freeze, and they produce really well. These here are a hot pepper. I may say it wrong. They're like Buono Mulata. They're purple. They ripen to this color here. We love their flavor, and they produce just an absolute ton of fruit. These are just beautiful. These are pumpkin spice jalapenos. They ripen to this gorgeous orange. This is my first year with these, but I will definitely grow one of these next year. And these are Sugar Rush Peach. My husband actually grabbed one of these to take a bite out of it, and my daughter's like, no, they're hot, and he just took a bite anyway, and they are pretty spicy. We haven't actually used any because they're to ripen to, like, they look like a peach, like a slice of peach when they're ripe. We have some way down in the bottom. Yeah, that one right there that's starting to ripen. So these are coming along. Now over here, these are Datiles. They're fairly hot, I believe. This was a free seed that I got when I did my seed order. They ripen to this color, so we've got some to harvest here. I mentioned my peppers have become somewhat of an obsession. I haven't even showed you all of them, but if I keep going, we're going to run out of daylight. So those are the few of the ones that I'm growing and will continue to grow into the future. Well, the Datiles we haven't used yet, but we'll see. We still have more seed. We'll probably be using some of them later. Our basil is doing just amazing. We have enough frozen right now that we have enough to be able to do, I think it's 1 pesto meal a week for about 4 or 5 months. We've got enough pesto frozen for that. So we figure if we do 1, maybe 2 more batches of pesto, that will, we'll have enough frozen that we can get through until basil starts coming in again. Right here is 1 batch of cabbage that we have planted. We've got 2 beds of cabbage. I need to get this netted, but right now it's looking really good. Fortunately, this week is going to be really hot, so I'm hoping it handles the heat okay. In this bed here, we've got sweet potatoes and some black beans. I've decided with my black beans, I just keep kind of plunking those in many places because I really like having the dried beans in the winter, and they seem to finish fairly quickly. So we'll experiment. Usually I just do 1, maybe 2 beds. This year I did 1 bed and then I just planted them in a whole bunch of places. So you may see beans, lots of places. This right here is one of my favorite parts of the garden right now. I planted our cave beans on our cattle panel trellis, and they're doing beautifully. They're coming along. I'm hoping they have enough time to finish. I planted the, you can see how dark it's getting here. Let me get to the other end of the, there we go. You can see me a little bit now. I planted them just a little bit later than what I normally do, just because I didn't have this space prepared, and I'm hoping they have enough time before frost to develop a good bean. So I love, it's kind of like a little kid's hideout. So I really like this space. This is where our chickens get wintered. We cover this trellis with greenhouse plastic. We fill this space with about 18-20 inches of our fall leaves, and they make compost for us throughout the winter. So our chickens are starting to go into molt. Hang on, we're going to get dark again as we go this way. Our chickens are starting to go into molt, so our egg production's dropping off. But as we move into that season, our chickens' job changes from making us eggs to making us compost. It is part of their natural cycle. When daylight decreases, egg production drops off. You can supplement with light to encourage egg production, but we don't do that. We just let our chickens produce compost for us for the fall and winter, and then they usually start about February. This is one of our kind of successes. This was all broccoli. I have cut some of it out, but like this broccoli plant is still trying to produce heads of broccoli for me. I actually am saving specifically this one because I'd like to get some seed from this, because it didn't get real stretched out like some of the other ones like, you know, that one right there, that got real stretched out. This one was trying to produce just small heads of broccoli that were harvestable. Like, actually, I mean, right here, this is September. This got planted in March in the ground, and it's still trying to make me little heads of broccoli. So what I'd like to do is save some seeds specifically from that one to see if that's a trait that would kind of continue on. Now, when I turn a bed over, I do like to top it with compost. Right now our compost has too much fresh manure in it. It's been about a month, but I'm not quite ready to top a garden bed and plant directly in it for something I'm going to eat. I could probably plant cover crop in it, but it's just not in a stage where I can just top with compost. But anyway, when I change over a bed, all I'm doing is cutting out the plants, leaving the root system in there, and planting in the soil. Because it's mulched and because I don't till, it's really soft. I just have my main tool. Hope you can hear me over the insect life of Western Pennsylvania here. So it's so loud to me. I don't know how it translates in here. But I leave those root systems in. The main tool I use is just a little hand shovel. So in this bed, I've planted a little bit of cauliflower, some onions that I want to overwinter for spring harvest, and some Swiss chard. So this is a bed of lettuce right here. I'm kind of playing around with a couple ideas here. Like, I have a bed of lettuce, and then I have a line of buckwheat, and then I have a bed of radishes, and then more buckwheat. My thought here is the buckwheat grows taller and faster than those other things. So my thought is, like, as we're still having kind of hot days here, end of summer, beginning of fall, this will provide a little bit of shade for the things that we want going into fall to keep them from bolting. I think it's going to work. I think it's a sound idea. I actually also did that over here, but I interplanted them so that there's buckwheat growing with the lettuce, and I planted that a while ago. And we don't have a ton of lettuce. Let me show you. So I don't have like a ton of lettuce in here, but I have enough that lately I've been able to harvest just a little bit of lettuce to be able to throw on top of some tacos or in a sandwich, which usually this point of the year we don't have, because if we've tried to plant lettuce, it's bolted on us. So I think, like I said, I feel like that's a sound idea. We'll see how it works or continues to work as we move into fall. We have some peas coming up in this bed, and again, this is where you can see, like, I had planted buckwheat in here to keep the weeds from taking over before I was ready to plant peas. And so when I was ready to plant the peas, I just came in and cut the buckwheat out and planted the peas. They're coming along pretty well. Now in the spring, if you've been with us for very long, there's one right there. In the spring, we had absolutely no luck whatsoever with peas. I had planted some actually in this same bed. I think there's bats flying. I'd planted some in this same bed, and they just didn't germinate, or if they did germinate, they got eaten so quickly we didn't even see them. So I think maybe what was happening, that this bed had been all a brick bed, because that's what we had around. And we had a ton of potato bugs. I think we still do, but I took the bricks out and replaced it with wood. I think that works better because there's not quite so many surfaces for them to hide in. So far, better luck. Kind of excited about this. And then we've got some broccoli through here that's looking just beautiful. So I'm excited for some good broccoli going into fall. Last year we had a really big issue with planting our fall garden. All of the stuff that we transplanted got, I don't know, cutworms. I don't know what it was exactly. It just didn't do well. So far already, we're doing better with our transplants than we did last year. So hoping I'm doing something right there. I saw this really cool spider earlier. I tried to get a picture of it, but he hid too fast. But it was one I've never seen before. I was seeing if I could see him, but he's put to bed for the night. Here is a second bed of cabbage. That again, a few years ago, we had a lot of cabbage that did pretty well for us that we were harvesting all the way until January. To be able to just grab a head of cabbage and do a stir fry or make some coleslaw to have like as your side vegetable in your fridge going into the fall was fantastic. Like for a very long time into fall, early winter, we were able to just completely bypass most of the produce section of the grocery store, which is always kind of a gratifying feeling because you know the work that you're putting into your garden is working for you. This is the new part of my garden. This is the addition. I'm just going to do a little sweep of it so you can see. We just have electric fence around it right now. At some point we'll be doing probably some woven wire or something to that effect. I'm loving this way here of trellising the tomatoes. It's just so much easier than most ways I've tried before. The idea here is more like cattle panel trellis without the cattle panel. It's just some materials that we had, but it's the same idea. In the center of this bed is where we had our winter squash. Got trucks with big engines going by. I don't know if you can hear them. The squash have finished for the most part. All of them have been harvested. The flowers, outside of the sunflowers are gorgeous, but they're finishing out. The other flowers you see were radishes. I planted those as a way to draw in beneficials to help regulate the pests that bother squash. Seems to work. I feel like balance in my garden is going well. So I will continue to do that, and right now they are completely covered with pollinators during the day. But here's the other side to the tomatoes. They're doing really well. They've been really easy to tie off, and something I've discovered, because I was just, when they hit the top, I was leaving them alone, but if they got a tomato on them, they would break the stem. So I started up here tying them along the top, so like the top's over here, and then I start moving them this way. Or here's an example, like so here's the top, and then I just kind of started tying this way, and we have the fruit hanging down so it doesn't break the stem. That's worked pretty well, so I'm learning all the time how to handle really tall tomatoes better. But again, love this way of trellising. This is for indeterminate tomatoes that continue to grow. And I am so running out of daylight. We've got about 25 quarts of canned tomatoes at this point, and those were probably started as about 60-70 quarts because we really cook them down to get a nice thick sauce. So that's a lot of meals throughout the winter, and there's still more coming. My Romas this year have been amazing. I feel like more of what I've canned has been from Romas this year than anything else. Those are indeterminate. They don't need this amount of trellising. So if you don't want to have to deal with this amount of tying up, try Romas. They're really good, especially if you want to can. I have 9 Roma plants, and we have canned a lot of tomato sauce from those 9 tomato plants. Thank you so much for joining me in my backyard and in my garden. I hope that you enjoy the space as much as I do, and we'll see you in an update soon.